Good afternoon, everyone. Today we have a webinar for Industrial Print Magazine on digital dye sub for household textile decor. Digital dye sub printing converts ink into a gas that fuses into textile fibers. It serves a range of applications from apparel to decor. Two types of digital dye sub print include direct and transfer. Direct dye sub printing involves sublimating ink directly into the fabric. The process eliminates the need for transfer paper but requires pre-treated fabrics. Printed fabrics are then run through a heat press for a sublimation process to bond the ink to the fabric. In transfer dye sub printing, the images or graphics are printed onto transfer paper and then the paper is run through a heat press. When the transfer paper makes contact with the fabric in the heat press with the temperatures between 385 and 400 degrees Fahrenheit, the paper releases the ink onto the fabric. The process allows for a wider range of fabrics to be used. Direct or transfer dye sub continues to take off as more designers and retailers begin to understand the potential of using the technology to produce items like custom draperies, wall coverings, upholstery, and bedding. There are many advantages to digital dye sub printing compared to analog fabric decorating methods for household decor, including low inventory costs, and a clean and sustainable process. Additionally, dye sub textiles tend to offer high color vibrancy, excellent rub resistance, and washability. Digital dye sub printing allows for customizable one-off production, both of which are experiencing increased demands in textile printing. These benefits are driving a change in decor markets. Several aspects of the dye sub process make it well suited for printing household textiles. With dye sub, inks permeate the material through the sublimation process, making for a product that offers washability and longevity. The method is also forgiving and provides high-quality results. The fabrics used for dye sub is imperative to the success of the graphic. A wide selection of fabrics are suited for digital dye sub printing, including different weaves and knits. Fabrics ideal for household textiles are polyester-based and usually fire and wrinkle resistant. Polyester, nylon, rayon, and spandex are popular for interior decor due to their weight, strength, and durability. Further, the key to making dye sub well suited for household textiles is the ink that becomes part of the material through sublimation, resulting in good washability, longevity, lower cost versus natural fibers, and the ability to have a rich, vibrant colors. Dye sub is one of the digital ink classes, and also other ink classes include acid, disperse, direct, pigment, and reactive. Each ink class has specific features, making them suitable for certain fabrics, and each of them needs a different pre- and post-treatment cycle. We'll get into this more in the webinar, but first let's introduce our guests and give them a chance to introduce themselves and insight into the firm's role in the digital dye sub as it relates to the creation of household textiles. First, we have Dave from HP. So Dave, I'm going to invite you to talk about HP's digital dye sub printers, which, if I'm correct, offer direct digital print in addition to direct devices, but are not transfer devices.
Yes, yeah, sure. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it. Actually, HP has dye sub printers that can print on transfer paper or direct to fabric, and I'll talk about those in just a minute. But first, I want to say thanks, Cassandra, for the invite. I'm happy to be included in the panel discussion with some very accomplished peers in the industry, so thanks for the invitation. A little bit about me. I've been in the printing industry for, I guess, a little over 20 years. I've seen a lot of trends when it comes to print technology applications and advancements in the printing process. And most recently, for the past 3 years, I've been with HP, dedicated mostly to the textile market and the HP Dye Sublimation Initiative, which is the HP Stitch family of printers that we launched 2 years ago, I guess, at ISA. The Stitch family of printers consists of 3 models. There's the entry-level S300 64-inch wide printer. There's a production model. That's the S500 64-inch wide as well. And then we have the industrial 10-foot or 3.2 meter S1000. That's actually what's really unique about all 3 printers is they're all capable of printing to transfer paper or direct to fabric using the same ink set. So it's kind of a one printer, multiple application concept, which took about 2.5 years to develop. And that's mainly because Stitch was created specifically for the dye sub market. We created it to help simplify and improve the current technology that had been on the market for years. And I know I only have a couple of minutes here, so I don't have time to get into the details of all of these, but we have what we call patented or these technology assets that we've been able to incorporate into Stitch that help with the platform as far as dye sublimation into the industry of different dye sublimation type printer. The first one of those technology assets, we increased their productivity, and we did that mainly through the use of user replaceable thermal inkjet printheads. These printheads have 4 times the amount of nozzles as an ordinary printhead. So they have first of all, incredible redundancy. Plus, they're user replaceable. So in about 20 minutes, you can replace a printhead. Typically, it takes about 20 seconds to do the physical replacement of the printhead. And then it automatically recalibrates and relinearizes. So under 20 minutes, you don't need to be a technician. You can have be printing again with a new printhead. Plus, there's a lot less waste with these printers. You know, we dry the ink in the print zone. We call it drop and dry print zone dryer. So we eliminate the expansion and contraction of the paper. So there's no cockling and obviously less waste. And then there's improved image quality, mainly through our ink chemistry, I think, but also with the help of the onboard spectrophotometer that comes with these printers. And then we've reduced the manual maintenance virtually to zero on these printers. Everything is automatic, including the cleaning and the printhead nozzle monitoring. It's all automatic. And they're smaller footprints, so it takes up less floor space. The 64-inch models, the S300 and the S500, are operated and loaded from the front. You don't go behind them for anything. So the S500 actually takes up about 45 or 50% less floor space than other 64-inch printers. And then overall, we really just simplified the printer operation. You know, we made it easy to use, less maintenance, a very intuitive web-connected front panel, all makes it really simple to run. So being part of the introduction of Stitch has really been exciting, and having the opportunity to share a little bit about it with you and your audience here today is appreciated. So thanks again for having me.
All right. Let's see here. All right, thanks for that. Next, we're going to go to Nicole from EFI.
And hello, good afternoon, everybody. It's a real pleasure being here today and joining this panel. I'm Nicole. I joined Reggiani actually nearly 8 years ago. Reggiani is part of the EFI Electronics for Imaging group since 2015, but it has a much longer history in the textile environment. So two souls, textile and inkjet, that really merged in 2015. And for the dye-sub world, we really have a long-lasting experience, nearly 20 years of digital technology inside the company. And today, yes, we have a product offering that is really a full lineup of industrial digital printers that are suitable for transfer and direct to fabric as well. And that include both belt and no belt printers to really address the needs of customers with very different printing environment and very different workflows. And actually, all our printers for paper and direct to fabric are available both in 70 inches and under 33 inches width in order to really address the different needs. And our lineup in this area, in the dye-sub world, really starts with one of our top sellers in the segment, that is our EFI Reggiani Next, the ideal roll-to-roll printer for customers looking for ever-running industrial printing machine with limited initial investment, low maintenance cost, and high reliability, together with the lowest cost per meter in its category. It is really easy to use solution. One operator can manage multiple machines since we know how productivity is important and also uptime. And the possibility to easily handle multiple machines is really crucial for environments that are growing in their history in digital printing. And really Next satisfies the need of small businesses as well as complex industrial plants alike. It is a smart investment to get printing quality and industrial productivity in a small footprint. Running up our lineup, we also feature bigger belt printers, so with production that can reach more than 10,000 square feet per hour, like our Power. And the strong points of this solution are really the extended uptime and low maintenance needs, making Power really the perfect industrial textile digital printer to increase productivity and printing capacity without compromising on quality or flexibility. So a true industrial lineup that is really merging all the latest technologies that we have developed inside EFI, including cutting-edge innovation that will bring your factory to the next level and make production faster, smoother, and more efficient. Namely, our ink recirculation system to improve overall printing quality, but also reducing maintenance needs. So solutions that really are able to provide a true industrial experience and to accompany customers from their first steps till massive production with dye-sub inks, direct to fabric and also for transfer.
All right, thank you. And next we have Timothy Check from Epson.
All right. Well, hey, thank you for inviting me to be part of this panel. I'm really excited to be here today and to take part with all these wonderful people on the call. And it's nice to hear some of the Italian aspects of what's happening. My background, I've been in the printing and imaging area for well over 20 plus years now. Started out as an engineer building the imaging components, going into different things from lasers and imaging sensors. And then over time, picking up more of a product management, getting more into the product management role. And for the last about 11, 12 years now with Epson America, my main focus has been on our textile products, particularly on the dye sublimation, as well as direct to garment, which has been a really exciting time. And I won't go too much into about what Epson's all about, but Epson America has been quite busy in this textile space. And Epson as a whole, we've partnered up with, back in 2003, we introduced our first textile printer with Robustelli. And that was our Mona Lisa product way back when. It was a partnership with Epson and an Italian company putting these technologies together. And from that, there's been numerous new inventions, applications. And where we're at today with our textile product line, we have a range of 8 dye sublimation transfer printers that range from entry level all the way up to our newest SureColor F10000 series that's running, they're 76-inch width printers, really running industrial speed. And the exciting part that comes in with this, and I'm not trying to be a commercial or a plug, but the exciting part is a company that manufactures the print head technology, we manufacture the ink chemistry, we manufacture the software, we manufacture all the components that go into a system to make sure that it works reliably so you can produce more sellable goods. Is a fantastic spot to be at. From a product manager, this is the best place I could be at because the technology, we own it, we have it, and we're able to apply it in many new ways to really help push this market forward and be able to come up with new innovations. So with that said, I won't keep going on. I know there's different spots where we're going to be talking today, but it is really exciting to hear how all these technologies coming to help grow this business, especially when we get into more of the decor and home furnishing goods markets. So with that, I'll hand it back over, but thank you very much. I'm excited to be here today.
Thanks, Tim. So next we have Victoria Nelson Harris from Mamaki. Let me see, get you on there.
Thank you, Cassandra, and good afternoon, everyone. So I'm a senior textile specialist with Mamaki USA. Mamaki is a global manufacturer of wide format printers, cutters, consumables, ink for the sign and graphics, industrial, textile and apparel, as well as 3D markets. In regards to the dye sublimation technology, we offer direct-to-fabric as well as transfer solutions. From our entry-level model, the 64-inch TS100, newly released fast-speed entry model, to our bigger, higher production models, our 76-inch TS300 and TS55 models. These TS55 models offer some really cool optional units for bigger production, such as your 10-liter bulk ink system, as well as your jumbo roll paper unit. So with these technologies, you're able to greatly reduce your ink cost and paper costs up to 20 to 30%. We also have a very special machine called the TX300 1800 Mark II. And this printer can run 6 different single ink configurations for the inks reactive, acid, disperse, direct sublimation, and textile pigment. It also offers a hybrid feature, which would allow you to run fabric with textile pigment inks or direct to fabric with sublimation inks, and will allow you to do the paper for the dye sublimation transfer inks. So you can run a dual ink set with this hybrid feature, which allows a business to be able to have any type of fabric from their choosing to be able to be printed. So you have great fabric versatility here. With the pigment inks, you could print rayon, hemp, bamboo, linen, cotton, all the natural fibers. And then with the sublimation inks, you can of course do the polyesters. We also have the TX300 1800 belt model unit, which is the same printer, but allows you to have a belt feeding unit for your stretchier or thin fabrics. And then from here, we even have the higher production models. So we also have the 129-inch, the 10-foot bigger scale machines. We have a direct sublimation unit with our TX 500-3200 DS, which has an inline heat fixation unit, which is ideal for commercial hospitality, decor, interior decor, as well as our TS 500-3200. So we have a very wide range of technologies for whatever your needs are. And then I think we're going to get into some of this in a bit. So I'm going to hand the mic back to Cassandra. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone. So now that we all know each other, we have a lot of equipment to talk about. So now we want to focus on dye sub and household textiles. Some of the things driving digital dye sub in this space include changing customer behavior, the ability to add customization, as well as increased supply chain efficiencies and eco-consciousness. So let's elaborate on this. Let's start with Dave. In your opinion, how is digital dye sub printing transforming the household textile printing industry?
I'd say first, I think it's opening up textile application opportunities to smaller shops first. It's making it more affordable to get into the market and viable as a market to pursue and really make some good margin in. Digital dye sub printing lets designers and manufacturers provide customized products with really short delivery times, which lets the manufacturer, react to changes in trends or fads, seasonal changes and demands from different geographies based on what may be happening in that particular area. Plus, you have some very flexible and extensive application capabilities. So as we know, water-based dye sublimation requires polyester fabric to work. And the fabric options for home decor have really expanded, with polyester materials being created that mimic look and feel just like your natural fabrics, like your twills and satins, your cottons, wools, and silks. So I think the ability to deliver custom designs quickly, using an expanded fabric offering will really shake things up in this market.
Okay, does anybody have anything else to add about the demands driving this in this space?
If it's cool, one of the things that we've seen is definitely in the last year has been a tremendous catalyst actually to drive a mass amount of people are spending more time in their homes. And now that work from home is a little bit more of a commonplace, even if it's going to be a hybrid approach, there's definitely a demand that's driving for people to make their house, make their abode more them, they're spending more time there. They want it to be more personal, be more enjoyable. And by far, it's just driven a tremendous amount of growth in that space for people really wanting to make their space their own space and make it unique. It's one thing going back to a sterile office. While we're at home, it's more efficient, more nice. And people are saying, hey, we'll do that. We'll take if we get a stipend from the office to do that, or if we're able to, we certainly, people want to spend that, make their place better by adding in some of this more personalized, whether it's pictures or photos or blankets or just, new window treatments, a lot of different options. That's one of the biggest drivers that I've seen so far in the last year, at least. I'm sure some other folks, I don't want to take everybody else's comments, but that's been a big driver that I know that we're just seeing the overall market, not just for Epson, but for all the other folks that are on here. I'm sure everybody's seeing the market as a whole is just completely growing dramatically.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good point.
If I may. Yeah, thanks. And I absolutely agree with Timothy. In fact, home furnishing market evolution is really related to consumer behaviors. And what we've seen this year is really a further big change. In fact, customers do not really buy anymore once for life, but are willing more and more to renovate frequently their houses. This attention to aesthetic of leaving the house is really driving an increasing personalization trend. And we are progressively seeing this also in apparel. So this personalization trend is getting more and more actual and real. This is related to what I love to call the empowered customer, a customer that is really the architect of his life in any detail. So personalization and customization are really the direction that are now taken by early adopters, and that we expect will be progressively followed by a wider portion of consumers. So consumers more and more will be willing to personalize their houses. And in this, digital printing is really the great partner. And to add something more, dye sub is a great opportunity. since home furnishing traditionally in textile printing is done on natural fiber, as it was mentioned earlier on. But the possibility to use polyester that feel like natural fibers, and the combination with short processes like dye sub and pigment as well, are really the ideal answers to this trend. And in particular, dye sub, thanks to its first turnaround time, shorter time to market, and cost effectiveness, also is excellent for short job lots. That is something that we are seeing more and more in this industry.
Thank you. Victoria, have anything to add before we move on?
Yeah, just to kind of overview what some of the things our other panel speakers have said, but the e-commerce growth has really increased the demand for the speed to market of products, the ability to go from the short run to the volume production, and then to be able to offer a wide range of variation in product. That speed to market and variation allows a business model that's very flexible. So I can read a market, see what trends are going on, and then to be able to deliver those products. And then if the market responds very well to them, you can support those increasing trends in sales with your products. So it's a really flexible business model. And I think the growth with the e-commerce and customization, personalization, and digital printing is just going to continue to go up from here. So.
All right, definitely. And so we're going to shoot the next question over to you. In your opinion, what about the dye sub process makes it well suited for printing household textiles? Since Mamaki offers both transfer and direct, can you discuss the pros and cons of both for this segment?
Sure. So with the dye sublimation transfer process, you're printing onto the paper, then transfer into the polyester textile. You're utilizing the paper, right? So your transfer of ink is really controlled by the transfer paper itself. You can lay a lot more ink down when you're printing direct to fabric. So I think that's a big key consideration, especially for a business looking to consider which route should I go? What application are you trying to achieve? For an application in interiors such as curtains, per se, maybe you would want better ink penetration through the textile. A direct to fabric solution would be more ideal. And also your workflow. So with the direct to fabric solution, you do utilize a coated fabric. So there's some cost there added onto the textile, which with the transfer process, it doesn't have to be coated. There's no limitation. But then you don't have, with the direct to fabric process, you don't have the additional paper cost, which seems to be a costly part of the process as well. So these are the kind of the parameters of how to approach which ones would be most suitable.
All right, thanks. So now, obviously, the textiles themselves are a critical part of the process. Tim, can you give us some insight on the fabrics used for household decor and what features we're looking for here?
Yeah, absolutely. So you're right. The printing part of it is just basically getting the ink to the right fabric. But the magic happens, and at the end of the day, the products that people are buying is that fabric that's been decorated or has that color applied. So it really does matter on the fabrics. There's the exciting part with the dye sublimation transfer printing is you can really print onto any type of polyester synthetic based fabrics. There's so many more variety of different products. I think, David, you already mentioned that to begin with. The types of products in the past, when people hear polyester, they kind of panic a little bit. But products like microfiber or suedes, there's some vegan leather type, whatever that definition turns out to be. But there's different types of products that are sustainable. Some things are made from simply recycled bottles, like reprieve fabrics. They're in there. There's so many different types of fabrics to choose from. But not just in even the makeup of it, there's different properties of it. So you have some fabrics that have, polyester is great at repelling water. One of the exciting things is you have fabrics that have stain repellent, water repellent. There's things in here with mostly for decor, mostly everything has flame retardancy to it. There's odor repellents or odor neutralizers already built in on these. There's other things for, like, as I think Victoria was mentioning, for doing for window treatments. There's blackout materials that have a liner inside. So you can really print on one side that's beautiful, but then completely block out. I'm in Southern California, and that sun, when it comes down, let's put it this way, the window right now, my screen would be completely washed out if I had the windows all the way open. But there's so many different types of fabrics that are available. As I said, whether they're mostly everything's going to be wovens, but there's different types that have like a linen textures or different suede textures. There's so many more options available now than there was. I hate to even say this, from last year. And last year to the year prior, there were so many more already there. It's just compounding that really the options that people have. There's some products that feel even softer than cotton, but it's not cotton and it's more sustainable. There's products that feel like silk that are in there. So there's so many different capabilities for it. The exciting thing is with digital printing, especially with transfer printing, as Victoria mentioned, it's all about controlling the ink as it goes to that transfer paper. When you do that with the transfer process, the color changes that you get going from one fabric type to the next doesn't really change that much. It's all about managing that paper. So you have very consistent print processes. And the exciting thing is on some of those fabrics, they could be something they may cost you $40 or $100 a yard. Transfer papers is pennies. So if you wanted to try it out, oops, made a mistake, no big deal on transfer paper. And that's where using transfer, you can get really vibrant color tones. You can get really sharp detail that's in there. And that all kind of lends to it. And with digital fabrics, one of the things that we do see is the companies that are making the fabrics, they do put a little bit more, excuse me, my son's home. They do put more effort into making sure that they'll qualify those products so that there's not lint or a lot of fiber debris that's on those fabrics. So when we see stuff and you're looking at fabric, it's not just pick anyone. You'll see some that are, say, they'll call them digital ready to print fabrics that have already been inspected. So you're not going to have a run in the stitching or some other problems that as you're trying to produce a longer run of material that you have defects in the middle of it. That really hurts your production workflow. And so having products that are fabrics that are digitally optimized or already ready for digital printing ensures that the print providers or print shops, you're going to be making really good quality products. You can charge a premium for what you're delivering, and it's very consistent. So fabrics really are the key. That is, at the end of the day, what people are buying. And so that's why it is, even though Epson, we don't make fabrics, we work really closely with a large number of mills because it is such an integral part of the entire process.
Right. Okay, and another part of the process is inks, obviously. So there are several ink types for dye sub. Nicole, can you discuss these? Specifically, what ink characteristics make them ideal for digital dye sub for decor?
No, absolutely, and thanks for the question. As Fareggiani, we basically manufacture any kind of digital ink for textile, reactive, acid, pigment, direct disperse, and also dye sub. And what we've been observing is that the increase in the use of synthetic fibers for household is really stimulating the expansion of dye sub printing also for this application. That was not originally one of the main. Dye sub main advantage to this extent is definitely it's being an easy to integrate process, since it involves a limited number of steps and machineries. In fact, unlike other traditional textile processes, dye sub is requiring, in general, a printer to print transfer or to print direct to fabric, and a calendar or a heat press to fix the color. The easiness of the process really makes it an ideal way to start with digital textile printing, thanks to the short learning curve as well. So unlike traditional direct disperse ink that really requests steaming and washing after printing, so high energy and high water consuming processes, dye sub is really to be fixed, only needs to be brought at high temperature to start the sublimation process. This easiness is really the main reason why dye sub is the most common way to print polyester and synthetic fibers. The ink is really jetting on transfer paper digitally, and the printed paper is coupled with the fabric under it to make sure the ink sublimate and is transferred to the fabric. Basically, this no need for post-treatment of the fabric makes the overall process so easy and so appealing also for customers that are really approaching home textile for the first time, also from other segments. And I have in mind, for instance, soft signage customers. And this easy to use is further strengthened by the properties of the ink, of the dye sub ink, in terms of fastness and also of color results.
All right, thank you. Now I kind of want to go through everybody's ink sets. Nicole, do you want to add anything about EFI Regani's ink sets specifically?
Absolutely, and thanks for the question. Our ink for our dye-sub ink is basically Effaraggiani Iris product range. It features an extended color gamut thanks to a range of 9 colors that include, besides the standard CMYK, also blue and orange, as well as light colors. This really to enhance and further expand the possibilities offered to customers. Iris is special for its being a dual use ink. It is in fact suitable both for transfer paper as well as direct to fabric printing. So it is really a solution, a very reliable solution to address all the different ways polyester can be printed. It is a water-based ink, of course, that really provides the ability to print bright, vivid colors and ensure extraordinary level of print durability. Di-Chroma guarantees stunning results really to digital textile printing and brilliant results that are ensured both for transfer and direct to fabric.
All right, now Victoria, you want to talk about Mamaki's ink set?
Sure, thank you, Cassandra. So Mamaki has a wide range of sublimation inks for transfer as well as direct. For our SB 610 and SB 411 dye sublimation transfer inks, which go with our entry-level models and our medium to higher production 76-inch printers. These also have an expanded color gamut of 8 color, plus the fluorescent yellow and fluorescent pink. We also have with our TX300P Mark II printer, the one I was discussing a little bit earlier, that can do the 6 single ink configurations with reactive, disperse. You can do direct sublimation with SB 420. We also offer direct sublimation high energy disperse ink, which is our DD400. Now the DD400 will offer you that increased fastness for washability and UV, and it also will give you the expanded color gamut with the 8 color configuration with violet, red, CMYK, gray, and pink. So that'll really give you, if you're looking for that little bit, the expanded color gamut and that increased fastness, that would be another alternative for a direct sublimation ink. Also with this printer, as I mentioned before, you can do the textile pigment inks in a single configuration, as well as you can do the hybrid feature, which would allow you to use 2 ink sets. You can do the dye sublimation transfer running paper on the printer for half of the ink, and then the other 4 channels you would utilize the textile pigments, or you could do a direct sublimation ink set. So kind of you can gauge, kind of have that flexibility there. We also have, for our larger production models, we have 6 color ink configurations for both of our 129-inch grand format. And these ink systems, one is the direct to sublimation with the inline heat fixation unit, as well as we have a transfer one as well. So,
Thank you. Tim, how about you?
You bet. Well, certainly, there's ink is part of that. That's part of that final product. At Epson, all of our inks that we make, they're all done internally. We make them proprietary. We have a group of chemists that do nothing but just make ink. The exciting thing is we cover so many different types of applications, technologies, and different even ink chemistries. The products that we have for our dye sublimation side of the house, we do have direct to fabric that does get into acids, reactives, and all that good part. But for the dye sublimation part, we focus primarily on dye sublimation transfer printing. And our ink set that we use, it's we start out with everything has to have, and I believe mostly everybody else already has this as well too, that's on this call. But there's a global standard called OEcoTex that does a lot of safety testing and making sure that, you know, if it's for apparel and you're going to put on, for example, a face covering, that you're not going to cause a rash on someone's face. There's a lot of testing that goes in to make sure there's no harmful chemicals or restrictive materials, Prop 65, in California, different things. We focus on making sure our inks have that safety, that measurement that's in there. So the final product is safe, but also that the operators who actually are printing, as it's a water-based ink, but as it kind of evaporates out, that there's nothing in there that's going to harm an operator. So we start out first with making sure we have a good safety in the ink, and that the products that we sell, if that's going to go through any brand store when you do product testing, that you don't have to go through extensive safety testing because that product already has an OEcotex Eco Passport. With that, when it comes to dye sub, we have a lot of different product SKUs, but simply put, what we've standardized on is we use a really high density, it's called high density black ink as far as our black ink set. And that's been a big change we made back in 2015. And that really reduces about 30% of the amount of ink you need to put down. Your colors look more vibrant. Even though we're talking about black, your color looks more vibrant. You use about 15% less ink overall because it gives more contrast to it. And we've really focused on having really tight control with our printer so we can minimize the number of inks that we need to have to put down to get good smooth skin tones and good other things, whether it's doing coffee mugs and photo metal panels, big wall decor, or doing things with fabric and apparel. So we focus on that. We've been primarily sticking with a 4-color ink set, CMYK, with the black being that high density. And then recently we've introduced some fluorescents. So fluorescent pink and yellow that you can do and mix with the ink sets in there to get fluorescent oranges and greens, a lot of safety construction, a lot more sports apparel oriented, not so much for decor. Nobody usually wants to walk in someone's house and bam, really bright. But there are applications for it for the fluorescents in decor with maybe more novelty. So sometimes it might be more in a club or different restaurants, commercial applications where you'll find that. And then recently we also had introduced some of the additional color expansion or gamut expansion and also smoother tones with light cyan, light magenta, where most fabrics you won't really notice that difference, but on high-end fashion or really fine detail fabric that can hold the resolution, you can get really light pastel, really high-end fashion products. Those lighter tones can really help smooth that out. So our ink set, we keep it simplified. It's the same ink chemistry we use across the Epson dye sublimation product line. It's in there. So really the only difference is if you're using our F10,000 series, it's big 10-liter boxes where you got, up to 120 liters of ink on board on a printer, or maybe our smaller printers that use these little smaller bottles that are in there, but same ink chemistry that we use across the board. So as a customer grows or their print volume needs grow, there's no changing. It's very similar. They get consistent type of quality and output from that.
All right, now Dave, we haven't heard from you in a while. Sorry about that. So why don't you tell me about HP's dye sub set?
All right. Well, HP has developed our own low-energy water-based dispersed dye sublimation ink. So being water-based, first off, it's very environmentally friendly and safe. And I think Tim mentioned just before we have the Eco Passport by OEcotex certification also. So it's suitable for multiple applications like home decor, but also sportswear, fashion, and soft signage. And then depending on the application, you can choose either a transfer or direct printing process. So based on the desired result, using the same ink. So for example, you might use direct printing. I think Veronica alluded to this earlier. You might go with direct printing for things like flags and backlets, where you want to have some heavy saturation for double-sided viewing or for dark colors that won't wash out in a light box, for example. But you might choose transfer printing, or it might be preferred for other applications like home decor, fashion, and sportswear. So the versatility of our ink, being able to print to transfer paper or direct, is a big advantage, I think, for PSPs looking to expand applications and then save on space and overall costs with a single solution.
All right, thanks. So we're going to wrap up. We have one more question, one official question, but what can we expect in terms of use and opportunity for digital printed household textiles in the near future? And I'll give everyone a chance to chime in on this one, but we'll start with you, Dave.
Unmute. Sorry about that. So yeah, I would say, in a word, I would say growth. The textile industry, I think, is expected to be like $1.7 trillion in the next 2 years. I think it's the 7th largest industry in the world. The printed textile industry is set to represent about $308 billion in the next 2 years. And then the digital print opportunity of that is supposed to be about $3.6 billion in the next 2 years. So when I say digital print opportunity, that's where we all play, right? We're the printer manufacturers, then you got the press manufacturers, the calendar people, the paper, the fabric. So that's the digital print opportunity, $3.6 billion. And then you take that $3.6 billion and they're saying about 60% of the total square foot printed is going to be on polyester. So you can see where this is all going, kind of what we just talked about as we summarize through this. So I think we'll continue to see growth for digitally printed textiles for sure. Not only in home decor though, but other markets like fashion, sports apparel, soft signage, and promotional items as well, especially as the pressure from the consumer for the one-offs and customization grows and the expectation to react to that demand and deliver products quickly gets more and more. I think that'll also help fuel the growth for digitally printed home decor, and again, other dye sublimation products along the way in other markets as well. So I think growth is going to be huge.
Yeah, it looks like it's an exciting time for us. So Victoria, you want to add to that?
Thank you. Yes, so just to add to what David was saying, I think as well, continued growth, the e-commerce and direct-to-consumer platforms, we're seeing great growth here. That won't be going anywhere. To be able to meet the demand for the speed to market, as well as the versatility right now at the e-commerce platforms, there's a huge influence from social media influencers, and we see them influencing consumers at the point of purchase for the sale. So digital printing falls in line perfectly with this, being able to deliver the right products, right time, right quantity, and to support those sales as they increase. So there's great opportunity here, and I'm just really glad to be a part of it with all of you guys.
Thanks. Tim?
This is, nobody's going to say, oh, it's going down. This is one of those things where, we do our planning for year to year, and it's like, I think I have the highest growth target of everybody. There's a reason for it. And as David mentioned, some of the market research that's showing that, hey, it's a massive market that's out there. This past year was not only a catalyst for the way how people are buying and driving up the need for more, they want to make their places look better. The biggest part we're seeing is the whole problems we had with supply chain, getting product to the right markets. A lot of product gets imported, bringing product in. I'm kidding you not, I'm literally like close to the Port of LA over in Huntington Beach. I can look out on the water and you'll see about 40 different shipping containers. I don't know how many, that may be over $100 billion worth of goods that is sitting out in the water because they can't get into port. We're not able to sell stuff. Things are running on back orders. One of the spots that this has made a major change is saving a penny or two, or saving a little bit, a couple percentage point by bringing products into import versus making it in-house, or at least domestically. Having a product that, hey, I saved $1 on this, but I can't sell it because I don't have it, means you get zero for sales. And companies are realizing that. And they're looking, completely revisiting their supply chain and going, you know what, we need to produce domestically. We need to produce regionally where the products are going to be sold. And we want to add more locations. So maybe we have a location in California, we need one in Texas, we need one in different areas. They're doing that to get closer to their customers, to be able to turn around products faster. It's a major change to the supply chain. And that's one of the reasons why we see that growing. There's also the end consumer who's buying these products. They want more personalization. They want things that are a little bit more unique. They don't want to look like everything, everybody just went to Home Goods or over to Pier 1 and got the same exact stuff. They want something that's on there. And good thing is a lot of those brick and mortar sites are allowing those customers and companies to sell through their platform to do that. So it opens up more opportunities for more unique products, more things that are there. Customers want that. And we see the shift, not only is the textile market growing, but the shift from analog, to digital, which is only a few percentages, for few percentage points. We're expecting that to really grow dramatically as digital production becomes really much more cost efficient, a lot more environmentally conscious production. And the supply chain issues really are significantly addressed to be much more faster turnaround and time to market. So I don't want to yap on too much. I love all the comments that David and Victoria have, and I can't wait to hear what Nicole, you'll have to say as well. So I'll hand it over to you. Thank you.
Thanks. And so Nicole, go ahead.
No, thanks, Tim. And I completely agree with what was shared earlier on and before me. And definitely digital is growing. And what Tim mentioned, so the disruption of the textile supply chain, especially during the last year due to COVID, really showed the difficulties of a really supply chain that is really built far away from the places of consumption of textile. That's why reshoring and nearshoring phenomena are something that will become more and more strong and more evident. And digital is really the perfect answer to this. Also for traditional textiles, the production near consumers will be more and more the trend. And digital is really the answer if you really want to produce, for instance, in Europe or in North America. And what is interesting is that this nearshoring and reshoring really need short processes, easy processes to integrate with low environmental footprint. In this area, pigment and dye-sub are really the two key solutions for our future and for the development of new businesses near basically the places of consumption, also related to the e-commerce trend that Victoria explained very, very well. So this rising trend are related to sustainability, and sustainability will be another area where the focus will be stronger and stronger. It will be a trend and will definitely impact on the kind of ink used on processes, but also on materials. The rise of fabrics like organic cottons, but also recycled polyester are something that are growing. And transparency along the supply chain will be more and more a must. So all these fabrics and printing will play a crucial role really in differentiating these supply chains, and also to bring to textiles some more and more particular properties. And printing, besides being decorative, looking in perspective, will be also more and more the real partner for the fabric's functionalization, adding properties like elasticity, antibacterial, and stain resistance. And polyester, together with dye-sub, will be really key technologies and key materials in order to see this progress toward a more sustainable textile industry.
All right, awesome, guys. Thank you. That's all I had for today. We're going to wrap it up. Just so the people listening know, there's a recording available. So if you didn't catch the whole thing, it will be up on the site. And there's also an article out in the April issue that's already out and up on the website that talks about this topic in detail. So everybody go check that out. And thank you, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.